Hello, Butts and Books fans, this is Scorp1701, and tonight we are going to be taking a look at the DC Direct / McFarlane Toys Batman the Animated Series Scarecrow. And this is the last figure in the collect-to-build the Condiment King wave, and I guess you can consider this a 2-for-1 review, because once we finish reviewing the Scarecrow, we're going to put the Condiment King together and take a look at him. So, jumping into the packaging, we see that it is in the standard DC Direct McFarlane Batman the Animated Series packaging that we've got the last 3 figures. You have 12 plus, you have the Scarecrow in there with his accessories and a little bit of Condiment King pieces. You have collect-to-build the Condiment King up here to the right. Awesome Batman the Animated Series logo with Batman the Animated Series and Scarecrow. On the top of the box, you have McFarlane Toys. You have Batman the Animated Series logo. You have McFarlane Toys. On the right side of the box, you have Batman the Animated Series Scarecrow with a nice building, DC Direct, and McFarlane Toys. On the other side of the box, you have Batman the Animated Series Scarecrow. Nice picture of Scarecrow, DC Direct, and McFarlane Toys. On the bottom of the box, you just have some credits for the box and a barcode. And finally, coming around to the back of the box, you have Batman the Animated Series, McFarlane Toys, the Condiment King collect-to-build. You have the Condiment King all there, all happy. Scarecrow, collect them all, which would be Scarecrow, Batman, Robin, and Mr. Freeze. And some more credits for the box. And that is it. That is Scarecrow in the box. I know you guys don't want to see the Scarecrow in the box. I know I don't. So let's get him out and see how scary he really is. And here we have the Scarecrow out of the box. And out of the box, he comes up to approximately 7 inches to the top of his little hat. He comes with a alternate head, some alternate hands, a scythe weapon, the torso and head of the Condiment King, and an awesome collector's card. And we'll take a look at all that in just a moment. But getting back to the Scarecrow himself, this is interesting. This is the second look that Batman the Animated Series had for him. The first time we see the Scarecrow in the animated series, it was kind of a generic Scarecrow look. I didn't really like it when they brought this look. I think they did a really good job redesigning him, and when they get to his final look, it is just scary. So yeah, I think they did a good job with the Scarecrow evolution throughout the series, but that's neither here nor there. So let's take a closer look at the Scarecrow himself. And coming real close in on the Scarecrow, you can tell this guy is really creepy. Even for a kid's show like the Batman the Animated Series, even though I think it was geared more towards teenagers or young adults because it was really dark and had some very adult themes to it, especially later episodes, this is creepy. So I think some of the kids may have had nightmares about this fellow. Take a look. His hat is really nicely done. It's nice and tall. You do have a little bit of orange for the hat band, and you got a little lighter orange here for the front. I love that. The face is just all creepy. The eyes are narrow, and you got the little kind of manila or cream colored eyes. You got a little bit of scarring coming down from this left eye and then down from the mouth. A lot of good detail in this head sculpt. Little teeth sticking out from the black mouth. Wow, that is so nice. You got some straw-like hair coming down from the sides all the way to the back. It reaches down. Nice large strands. I like that. And then we will zoom out just a little bit so we can get his chest in the frame. So his shirt, nice bright orange. You got a little darker up here for the collar that comes down. Almost the same color as his mask, so that is pretty neat. And there's some texture in the shirt, and you got some stitching in the shoulder here. That is really cool. You got the mold to make it look like it's hanging off of him. Coming down to the arms, you do get a little bit of cell shading, and this is not as gratuitous as it has been on the heroes. The villains in this line seem to have done it right. I don't mind this cell shading. It looks pretty good. It's under the arms. And you do have some nice straw or rope links right here at the cuff, and it kind of extends past the hand. I like that. The little rope belt here is very nice. Coming down, you do have some brown pants, and This shading, it's a little off-putting, I think, but still not as gratuitous or as an eyesore as it was on Robin or Batman. Pants come down, you have this rope link again at the bottom of the pant cuff, and it extends out to the feet, which are really nicely done. I like that. Coming to the back of the figure, nothing else that you wouldn't expect there. You do get a little bit of stitching here on the back of the figure, which is kind of strange. Well, this actually stitching goes all the way around from the front of the right leg, so sorry about that. But anyway, that is basically what your Scarecrow is going to look like. He is really creepy. I do like the way this thing is designed, sculpted, and molded. It is one of the better figures that we've took a look at in this line. All right, moving on. And for our articulation, starting at the head can go around 360 degrees. It is on a very small neck joint. You can take the head off there and you can see that it's very thin neck. Well, again, I guess that's one of the Scarecrow's themes. He's very lanky and thin. So put that back on. Coming down to the arms can come up from the body and then back down. The shoulders can go around 360 degrees. There is no bicep rotation. There is an elbow bend, which is really nice. It gets you well over 90 degrees there. That is super. It is built into a forearm rotation, 360 degrees there. And then you come down to the hand, which is able to rotate 360 degrees, and you can hinge in and out. Now, there is a little bit of obstruction with the ends of the shirt getting in the way, but you can work around that, so that's not too bad. Coming to the center of the body, there is no ab crunch, but you do get a 360 degree waist articulation, so that is pretty cool. Coming down to the legs. Now, the legs, there's not much to them. They're thin, and you get a little bit forward, a little bit back. You can get out to the side. You got 360 degree thigh rotation there. Coming down to a very low knee bend, and this knee bend is very precarious, so you can kind of do a double hinge like it's built, but when you do that, as you can see, the upper joint will pop out, and that is a little bit problematic. So you can kind of squeeze that upper leg together to hold the joint a little better, but every time you use that double joint function, you're gonna run into that. So that's kind of annoying. Coming down, you do have some foot articulation. The foot goes around 360 degrees, and it is hinged, so you can go down a little bit and you can go up a little bit. So that is pretty nice. And that is going to be your Scarecrow articulation. Not too bad, but then again, you can see it kind of lax in the legs, and the head is just crazy wobbly, wiggly waggly. So I don't know if I like that or not. It does kind of give it a more creepy effect, I guess. So anyway, all right, moving on. And for accessories, the Scarecrow comes with an alternate unmasked head, and you can see Professor Jonathan Crane there. He comes with some orangish hair that's nice and spiked and molded. I like that. He has a very sinister look in his eyes. Got some nice eyebrows painted there, some very beady pupils, nice pointy nose, and some mouth detail. I like that. I don't know, nothing too out of the ordinary with this alternate head, but then again, I guess he's supposed to be unassuming, but he does look mischievous. All right, moving on. And when it comes to hands, the Scarecrow has a pair of expressional grabby hands. These are kind of creepy, nice long fingers. He comes with a fisted hand for trying to fight Batman, I guess. And he comes with a weapon holding hand. So that is really neat. Not a lot of hands to mess with, and that's the way I like it. All right, moving on. And for the Scarecrow's final accessory, he has this scythe weapon. It's really nicely done. It's about 5.5 inches long. The handle and pole is just gray plastic with a little handle sticking out here at the side. The blade is done in a nice light gray with some cell shading marks. I like that. It's really cool. And the blade measures up to about 2.5 inches long. So that is neat. And he could hold this and attack with this. And it's okay. It's a freaky weapon for a freaky villain. Alright, moving on. Also in the box we have this awesome Scarecrow collector's card. If you are collecting these, you have the Scarecrow on the front with the Batman Animated Series logo. Flipping it around to the back, you do get a little bit of a bio on the Scarecrow, and we will zoom in and you could take a look at that, pause the video, read that to your heart's content. But we must be moving outward and onward. So if you like the collector's cards, here is another one for the collection. Alright, moving on. And finally in the box we have the head and torso of the Condiment King, and this is really cool. And we'll go into this a little bit more when we review him. So I don't want to give too much information about it because we're just going to have to repeat ourselves. Alright, moving on. And for comparison, here you have him with his wave mates, Robin, Batman, and Mr. Freeze. And for the most part, I think they all look really good. I did have to do some adjustments to Batman and Robin, but like I said before, the villains are really winning this wave with their looks and how they're painted as opposed to Batman and Robin. Alright, moving on. And this has been the DC Direct McFarlane Toys Batman the Animated Series Scarecrow. And it was an okay figure to take a look at. I really liked a lot of the aspects of this figure. First off, the sculpt was really great. The mold did suffer from some articulation issues because of the way it was designed. The really small limbs kind of make it hard for the joints and the knees and the elbows to function properly. As long as you're careful with them, I think the joints will work, but there was that initial problem. So I gotta say that that's kind of a black mark on it. So the paint is great. I didn't have as much a problem with the cell shading as I did with the Batman and Robin. I think the Scarecrow, for the most part, was the best figure in this wave. I think everybody else knew that too. That's probably why it got the exclusive platinum labeled figure. So if you don't like this one, there was a second one that was in this line that had a different paint scheme. So it was pretty neat. His scythe was okay, and one of the things he used in the series, I think maybe if they added some fear gas effect or canister or something, I think that would be cool. The trading card, one of those things I think is just a throwaway. I mean, it's okay if you want to start a collection and you like stuff like that. And that's pretty much all I can say about this guy. If you are looking for this guy, you can find him at Targets in the electronics section, or you can find him online. And if you're looking, he usually goes anywhere between $25 to $30 depending on where you pick him up. And we've completed our look at the entire first wave of the Batman the Animated Series reissues. We can now move our attention to something entirely unique to this line, and that is going to be the Condiment King. So, as I said before, if you had bought each of these figures in the wave, you would have got a piece of the Condiment King. The Scarecrow came with the head and torso, Batman came with the arms, Robin with the bottom half of the body, and Mr. Freeze came with the condiment tank. Now, what's fun about the DC collect-to-build-a-figure as opposed to the Marvel Legends build-a-figures is you only need 4 figures in the DC world as opposed to 5 or 6 in the Marvel world. So DC's giving you a little bit more, I guess. Of course, you're paying a little bit more. Usually a Marvel Legend, even with a Build-A-Figure piece, is $20, whereas these were $25 a piece. But that's how they want to do business. Seems like both toy companies are going to get you one way or the other. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get the Condiment King put together. And here we have the Condiment King all put together. And all put together, he stands approximately 7 inches tall from the top of his head to the bottom of his little white boots. And he is a very funny little character. Now, the Condiment King did appear in only one episode of Batman the Animated Series. It was in the 3rd season episode called Make 'Em Laugh, in which he was a comedian who was brainwashed into thinking that he was a supervillain. He tried to hold up a restaurant, and Batman stopped him, and I guess that alone warranted him to be made into a action figure. So, yeah, it was kind of a funny little episode, but I don't know if it's something that everybody had been wanting, or if he had an underground fan base, but whatever the reason, here he is. So, let's zoom in, take a quick look at him, starting at his funny little pickle head. Now, he is wearing this weird little pickle mask. It goes over his head, and you can see it's green. You have some line work here. You got a little stem up here at the top, and that is pretty cool. You do have some molded detail for his ears. I like that. Coming to his face, he does have a standard flesh-toned face. You got a little bit of shading detail over here on the right. Don't particularly care for that, but for the most part, he has a neat face. He has some eyebrows painted here, nice little spectacles with some toon cell shading on them. Very long nose, so that's kind of funny, and a big chin. And he does have a little mouth here, even though it's not picked out in any type of line work, so it's okay. That will bring us down to his collar, which is nice and white. You got a little bit of shading here on the side. His suit is teal color, so let's zoom out a little bit so we can see the figure in its entirety. He does have some sauce packets molded onto the outside of his arms, which is really funny. I think in the cartoon they were yellow and red, but here they're just white. He has a nice large C on his chest with a lightning bolt going through, half of it red and half of it yellow. And then you have some nice white hands, so those are really good. He is just wearing some plain underwear on the outside of his costumes, so that's kind of funny. And then his legs are coming down to some white boots. So white boots, white gloves, teal, and some underwear. It's not a very detailed costume, but you know, it has some interesting aspects to it nonetheless. There's a shading section right here coming down from his abs to the outside and then the inside of this leg. I don't mind it too much because you don't really see it if you have him in certain poses. And for the most part, I think it's okay. On the back, nothing that you wouldn't expect, except he has some pegs for his backpack gun that we'll see in a minute. And he does have some peg holes on the bottom of his feet, so that is really neat. And that is what your Condiment King is going to look like. Moving on. And for Condiment King, our articulation, starting at the head can go around 360 degrees. It can kind of hinge down a long way. It can hinge to the right. It can hinge to the left. You got a lot of wiggly waggly in the head. I think that is really cool. Coming to the shoulders, shoulders can come up from the body and then back down. Arms can go around 360 degrees. There is no bicep rotation. You do have a nice elbow bend. Gives you a little over 90 degrees, like that. The elbow bend is built into a forearm rotation, 360 degrees there. And coming down to your hand. Now, the interesting thing about the hand is you have your hinge on the top of the hand right here, so that lets it go up and down as opposed to the inside of the wrist where most of the time you'll have your hinge. So you got your hinge and you got rotation 360 degrees, so that is pretty cool. Coming to the center of the body. Zoom out just a little bit. You do not have an ab crunch, but you do have 360 degrees of waist articulation coming down to your legs. Now, these underwear are very flexy right here at the bottom, so you can actually get the figure's legs up a little bit. But because it is there, the figure's legs won't stay up. It just keeps coming down. So, I don't know if that's good or bad, but that is as high as you can get the leg forward. Can't get it back much because the butt gets in the way, but if you put it out kind of to the side and back, you get a little ways, and if you put it straight out to the side, you get a little ways. But be careful because your leg will kind of squeeze up under the underwear. So I'm gonna have to fix that. There you go. Now, coming down to your knee bend, you do get a double hinge knee bend. Unlike the Scarecrows, it appears to be working, and that is a good motion for the knee. Coming down, you do not get a boot cut of any sorts up here, but when you get down to the foot is hinged. It can go forward almost straight out as if he's broke his ankle, and it can go back a little bit, and the foot itself can circle around 360 degrees. So there's a lot of interesting articulation to this figure, some neat stuff I haven't really seen before, and I think it can move and get to any position you kind of want him or need him to be in. Alright, moving on. And for Condiment King's accessories, he comes with his backpack full of ketchup and mustard, and they are 2 large tanks that will go on his back. You have the tab section here that will just port into his back, and he has 2 guns connected to the pack with these strings. You have the yellow one for the mustard gun and red for the ketchup gun, and this is really funny and cute. He'll wear this on his back, and he can hold the guns and pretend like he's shooting, you know, Batman or Robin, whoever's come to stop him. Oh, the whole thing is kind of funny and ridiculous at the same time, so I don't know. All right, and that is going to be the Condiment King's accessories. Moving on. And for comparison, here you have the Condiment King with the villains of the wave, Mr. Freeze and the Scarecrow. And Condiment King is standing a little taller than the other 2 villains, so that is something. And will we ever get a Pack Rat and a Mighty Mom? I don't know. Who could say? Maybe one day down the road we'll have a 3-pack of these crazy comedian villains. And for comparison, here we have the Sultan of Sauce keeping the Dark Knight and the Boy Wonder at bay with his condiment guns. And this is really funny. So if you've ever wanted to relive that one scene from that episode of Batman the Animated Series, here you go. Alright, moving on. And this has been the DC Direct McFarlane Toys Batman the Animated Series Collect to Build a Figure The Condiment King. And for the most part, he was a really fun figure to play with. The sculpt and mold is exactly how it was in that one episode of the cartoon series that he appeared in. He's painted really well. The shading effect on this figure doesn't really bother me that much, except for the shading on the face on the right side. The condiment tanks okay. It's what he had in the show, so I'm not too unhappy with that. The articulation is fine, has some unique aspects to it that I haven't really seen a lot of, and the figure in general is just fun. It's like one of those wacky things you never really thought that we'd see a Condiment King figure, but here it is. The only 2 things I can say about this figure that are kind of bad is he has a little trouble standing up, but that could be because he has a huge tank of ketchup and mustard on his back. But there are peg holes on the bottom of his feet which will allow you to put him on a stand, so that takes care of that problem. The second thing I want to say about him is I hated the fact that I had to go through 4 figures that were re-releases in order to get him. Most of the times when you're dealing with Build-A-Figures, you actually get new figures with the Build-A-Figure piece. Here, it wasn't that way, and shouldn't have probably spent the money on them, but I did, so whatever DC Direct and McFarlane's marketing plan was, it worked, at least on me. But anyway, that is the Condiment King, and he's pretty fun. If you want this figure and you're looking, you could do it how I did, buy all the figures of the wave and combine him, and then you'd have 5 figures. Or you could go to eBay and find one already assembled, and there he's going anywhere between $75 to $85, which is less expensive than buying all the figures and then putting them together yourself. But it's going to be up to you, whatever you would like to do to get your Condiment King. If you're looking for him, happy hunting. That's it, guys. That's a review. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, keep playing.